Starting the recording.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to World 1-1 Podcast. We're back after an Easter break. I am your host, Larry the Stubbly Stud. Joining me is Eddie V.
I'm actually working on the platinum for a PlayStation. That's strange. Hello, everybody.
You're strange.
You are strange, but it's part of why we love you.
Is it? But life is strange.
Life is strange. It's a fucking solid game, too.
Need to finish.
And just back from PAX is Corey and Ultra High Def Hudson Derrick.
I'm here. I'm alive. I didn't get sick yet.
Yay.
I didn't catch the convention plague. So, yay!
I say thank Christ it wasn't back in January when all that flu shit was going around. Oh my god!
Gosh, yeah.
Everybody just would have died.
Got my Overwatch League hoodie on. Very proud of this. I'm also proud of the Spectre Knight shirt I got that's currently in the wash.
Fuck you.
I know. It's awesome. They were out of the Shovel Knight one that I wanted, but that's okay.
I don't know that I particularly cared about the show. That Spectre Knight one is fucking sick, and screw you for not getting
Yeah, the
one.
King Knight one was awesome too. Like,
yeah.
Because they had so much King Knight stuff there. Like, they had plushies and they had a deck of cards, and every single one was like a King Knight like pose. It was awesome.
Was it through Fan Gamer or?
No, it was through Yacht Club.
Yacht Club, okay.
It was at Yacht Club's booth. Like, I don't know who did all of it, but they were selling it. Like, they said anything you can find here, you can find in our merch store. I said okay.
Okay.
So I'll probably be getting that Shovel Knight T-shirt at some point.
Because normally with like a lot of indie developers like that, they've been going through Fan Gamer. Like, they've been having contracts with them doing merchandise.
Yeah. But normally I'd start with games of the week, and I think we'll get to that. But I really want to jump into the big stuff here, and I want to talk to Corey about what the fuck he did at PAX.
I mean, do you want to go right into it? Because
I really do.
I played over 40 games at PAX. I was so excited. So what exactly do you want to go about first? Do you want to do like AAA, or do you want to skim through AAA and then get into the indie stuff? Because I know that's what we really want to talk about, is a lot of the indie stuff.
I'm curious as to what AAA stuff you got to hit up, and depending on what you hit up, we'll maybe go deeper on a few of those, and then definitely dig into some indie. I played
everything in the Nintendo booth. I went there both days. Just because I wanted to make sure I hit everything, just because, I knew we would talk about it here and on Pal Block.
What all did they have there? What were they showing?
They had SNK Heroines, Dark Souls, Travis Strikes Again, Wolfenstein 2, Donkey Kong, Hyrule Warriors, Just Shapes and Beats, Garage, Dead Cells. What were the other two indies that were in the corner? The Messenger, and there's one other one. What was the other one?
Wasn't Hollow Knight by chance, was it?
Nope. Hollow Knight
show their face.
I did not see Hollow Knight anywhere. I looked and looked and looked.
Yeah, there weren't even no PAX. There was nobody tweeted about them or anything.
Jeez.
Yeah, what was the other game?
That really makes me wonder what the fuck's going on with them right now.
Yeah, it was. Look, in the Nintendo booth, dude, it took me an hour and a half to get through that line the second day. And when I got to the front, the line was over 3 hours. They actually had a person at the end of the line that says, "Line is closed," because there were so many people in line.
Jeez.
It was awesome, dude. So, like, I stood in line with these guys, and we were talking about a bunch of Nintendo stuff, and they go to Comic-Con every year, and they were like, that they had never been to PAX. This is my second PAX, so, like, I kind of knew what to expect, but, I mean, I hadn't been in, like, 7 or 8 years, so I got into the Nintendo booth and went straight to Dark Souls because, Matt and Moose wanted to know how that played on Switch, and I was blown away by how good Dark Souls a lot of the games I was blown away at how they looked, but Dark Souls specifically was like, holy crap! They went through and redid all the texture work to everything. It's a locked 30 frames a second. It will play in 1080p on docked.
Okay.
And I played, and I got a pretty hefty gameplay demo. I actually played from the beginning of the game all the way through the asylum, all the way to like the first real boss, the Taurus Demon. And the Taurus Demon actually has like real fur now. Because like, in the Xbox 360 version, it was just like texture that looked like fur, but wasn't really like wavy.
Right, it was just kind of painted on.
Yeah, when he jumped, like the fur moved with the motion of it. Dude, I was like, and I knew like Wolfenstein would look good because I know how good Doom looks and how good Rocket League looks. And there's actually a panic button guy there that I talked to a little bit about Wolfenstein, but we'll get there in a second. Like, Dark Souls was the most impressive looking game there not made by Nintendo.
Really?
Just from a technical standpoint.
Well, that's when everybody's like really planning on buying.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be my first foray into finally sitting down and playing anything in the Dark Souls realm.
Yeah.
So
I just wonder, is Namco Bandai really, from a marketing perspective, I wonder if they're going to really market this game on Switch.
They are. That Dark Souls was, the Nintendo booth was the only place it was playable. It wasn't playable at PlayStation or Xbox.
Wow.
And the guy there that works with, he's the guy that was at that booth was like a Nintendo third party kind of representative for Nintendo, and he was like, yeah, I'm going to buy it on PlayStation 4K 60 frames a second, but like, I'm definitely getting it on Switch too, probably because he gets a free copy, but like, he take this game on the go, and he was in like, I was thoroughly impressed with like everything he was saying. He was like, yeah, they're marketing this game through Nintendo because, Nintendo wants people, games are on their system, and they're ponying up money for the marketing.
Well, they got the Amiibo also to sell. I mean, it's already sold out everywhere, like pretty much at every GameStop. But yeah, I think that Amiibo's kind of like certified that they're going to be doing a lot of press and a lot of marketing for that game when it comes out.
Yeah. So Dark Souls was really impressive. The movement was really fluid. They redid a lot of the animations of the enemies too, so like they're not like clipping through doors or walls or anything. They kind of redid a lot of things. Like I was really impressed just in that first kind of like, they let me play for like a half hour, and I was like,
nice.
I can't believe they let me like play that long.
And now you know why the line was so fucking long.
Well, they're just like play till you die, and I'm like, okay, sure. And like I had played through that first section of Dark Souls so many times that I like really knew what I was doing. So like I went through the Firelink Shrine, I went up through the first area and like kind of collected some souls, and I went through some of the upgrade menu stuff, and like a lot of it was kind of like grayed out because it was a demo build. But like I kind of upgraded myself a little bit and went to the first boss and died at the first boss. Like I granted, I went there without any Estus flasks, and I had like this much health left, but like I got him down to half health, and then then I climbed up the ladder. I had to get up high because you're supposed to like jump down onto him. I went up there and I forgot the archers were up there, so I was fighting the archers, and the Taurus Demon jumped up there and landed on me, and that's how I died.
Dang.
So, but. Yeah, I got a lot of gameplay footage too on the YouTube channel. So like anybody listening wants to go to youtube.com/NGR Radio and check out the either the PAX East 2018 playlist or the NGR Radio Plays playlist. I got some off camera footage of a lot of these games. And like, I asked the guy if I was allowed. He's like, yeah. He's like, you just have to shoot it like this. So, like, you know how Nintendo is. There's always got to be somebody in the picture playing the game, and which was fine or whatever. But, like, I got Wolfenstein 2, I got Dead Cells, I got Dark Souls. Like, oh, it was awesome. And like, Travis Strikes Back, I went over there, and like, a friend of Nerds Gone Rogue, Joey Ferris, was there. Ferris Wheel Productions. You guys should check him out if you want to see some cool YouTube content. He was there, and like, Suda51 was there, and he got pictures with Suda51. He was in the booth while I was there, and I was trying to make my way over to him, but like, the crowd around him was so big.
Jesus.
I couldn't get there, and then like, he had like his people kind of like escort him out of the booth or whatever after he was done, but he was walking up behind people playing his, like, picking up the controller and just playing the game with him.
That's
the
so
people. I was like,
awesome.
And like half the people I watched him do that to, like, or like, who's this weird guy like playing this game with me? I'm like, you don't understand. That's the creator of the game. It was cool, man. So I guess we could talk about Travis Strikes Again. That's a solid action game, man.
Yes.
Dude, it was running at 60 frames, like fluid 60 frames, no nothing. It was just like, and the combos, like, let me bring up my notes. I took notes. I took notes on every game we played. I think it's towards the bottom because I played it on the second day. Filling time because I don't want dead air. A lot of the levels really looked like, kind of reminded me of like Tron a little bit. Yep. Like those bright neon blues, and like the kind of pixelated. I would kind of compare, like, because like, you go through the game and you're fighting viruses and bugs in these little games, and you get sucked into the game and you have to fight the viruses and the bugs in the game. Mm-hmm. And like, a lot of the level design was like almost perfect, and then you'd see these little chunks taken out, like kind of pixelated out of the level. Mm-hmm. And like, you'd hit one guy, and then the way you lock on to other enemies is like, it's super fluid to where like, it's almost like top down Batman Arkham combat, where like, you automatically just zoom to the next guy.
Yeah.
It felt so good. And like, the vertical versus the horizontal attacks felt really good and really fluid. And some of the combos, like in DMC, kind of like when you're on the last guy, kind of slow down to show you like these really cool finishing moves. I was thoroughly impressed with Travis Strikes Again. I was gonna get it because it's like, it looked cool, but now it's like at the top of my list. It was awesome. And I think they said that game comes out in November.
Nice.
So, but it was cool. I got to see Sue, and like, I tried to snap a picture, but it was super blurry, and I was like, nobody's gonna believe me if I show them this, so I'm just not even gonna bother. But what did I play next? Oh, Wolfenstein 2. Let me tell you about Wolfenstein 2. Like, I saw comparison videos with the PS4 Pro version and the Xbox One X version, and it doesn't look anything like those versions.
Well, they wanted no powerful hardware, so.
Yeah. But when you put this game up next to like a Xbox One or an Xbox One S version of the game, aside from like some lighting and some up close like metal texture detail, and running at 30 frames a second instead of 60, like, graphically, this game is indistinguishable from the Xbox One version. Like, if you would have told me that I was playing the Xbox One version, if it was running on like a launch Xbox One, I would have been like, well, I believe you. Like, nice. It looks great.
Yeah, it's been getting a lot of press on Twitter that they were just like, this game is like literally legit. That it looks good and it runs smooth.
Yeah, it runs really smoothly, and I got to play the scene, and I don't know if either of you played Wolfenstein, but it's the scene after the wheelchair scene where he starts putting on like the mechanical suit or whatever.
Yeah,
and like
wonder if that pass where you meet the mom and the daughter, the Nazi mom and the daughter.
I think so, because they only let me watch one cutscene, and it was the cutscene where like the ship was kind of like over the water, and the one guy that has the dent in his head was being pulled up by the black guy, and like the demo started with you in the room where like the Nazis are trying to escape, and the guy that got his arm cut off is like holding the one Nazi lady hostage while you run around and start doing stuff. But man, that game, like a Panic Button, I was talking to the Panic Button guy. He's like, yeah, Wolfenstein was a little bit tougher than Doom, but that's because Doom is a 2-year-old game, and this game is more refined and more structured than Doom was, just because the engine's been around longer and they've had enough time to like play with it and whatever.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was literally announced after Wolfenstein 2 actually got released.
Yeah. But like he was telling me that, you know, they didn't really struggle with Wolfenstein 2 as much as they did with Doom because of you know, they had worked with the engine before and they got a lot of experience working on Doom, so the process was a lot easier.
Right, they had one under their belt already at least.
Yeah. And I guess they helped Iron Galaxy a little bit with the Skyrim port, so they have a lot of like support and help from Bethesda, and I was like,
that's good.
So, and I was asking them about their Bethesda partnership, and I gave them one of the business cards because, like, I was like, we'd be after this game comes out, or whenever you guys are allowed to talk more about it, or after E3 or whatever, whenever this game comes out, we'd love to have you on one of the shows to talk about, you know, Wolfenstein and your work with Bethesda. And he was like, yeah, that'd be awesome. And he took a card and
nice.
So, where was I going with that? Oh, and I was like, so, since your Bethesda partnership is strong, do you think we'll see anything like Dishonored or Fallout come to Switch eventually? He's like, he just kind of laughed. He's like, you're not asking that. All I can say is our partnership with Bethesda is really strong, and we would love to work on another one of their projects in the future. I was like, come on, give me something, dude. Just give me something.
You know they're under contract, so they can't say nothing.
I know, I know, but I was.
Yeah, like, I mean, I'm going to be shocked at this point if, at the very least, we don't get Fallout something on Switch.
I don't think we're going
considering.
No, because I think Corey, you should have said, "Can we see anything from you guys for E3?" And if they said, "Well, you just got to watch," then we'll probably could hint at what their next game may be.
Yeah,
because
he was kind of hinting at like this game wasn't gonna make it out before E3. So like I was like this game's gonna be their E3 game. He said they have other projects in the works. They just can't talk about them. I was like, I get it.
Probably because they probably haven't been revealed or anything.
Yeah. But man,
because it sounds like they had to be working on Wolfenstein 2 while Bethesda themselves was doing the other versions. Because for a game because they haven't announced it yet for a release date, right?
No, they said they still have some things they want to work on because it still doesn't run at like a solid 30, and that's kind of what they want to get that down. And Nintendo and Bethesda are giving them all the time in the world to like make sure it runs well.
Yeah, but to have even like that demo that you play, it sounds like they had to start that probably, I would say like maybe June of last year.
Well, they said they started it over a year ago. They knew like Wolfenstein was coming, and like they wanted to have it out within a similar time frame. They said they wanted to have it out quicker than Doom. I was like, well, yeah, because the Switch wasn't out yet. But like,
right.
Because they worked on Rocket League also. They said working on Rocket League was a little bit harder actually than working on Doom.
Really?
Just because they had to recode all the online infrastructure and stuff too to work on the Switch and to be multi-platform and like.
Okay,
They said that seems like a Psyonix thing, he said, but they actually both have to make sure they work both ways, just because like Psyonix needs to make sure it works on their end because it's crossplay, and they need to make sure it works because they're doing the coding with the Switch engine or the Switch infrastructure. So, yeah, but he said that the team really loves working on Wolfenstein, and I was like, do you think we'll get a port of Wolfenstein 1? He's like, I haven't heard anything about any other projects except for the ones that we can't announce yet. I was like,
yeah, I'd really like to see them bring New Order over as well, not just what is it, New Blood, whatever the fuck the first
Order.
New Order and Old Blood, yeah.
Right. So, because I'd really like to have both of those on the Switch to be able to actually go 1, 2.
I think Pentabuck Button won't say anything. I think Bethesda's going to say something when they do their E3 conference. Because at this year's E3 for Bethesda, everything has to be new. Most of their announcements from last year is out. So I don't know what they got up their sleeves for this year.
Like you said, it sounds like they've got some things picked out and ready to announce and go, this is the next batch of stuff that we're working on, and here's kind of a rough time frame. Because it sounds like really they're not going to let much of any of their announcements go, more than a year without releasing.
Yeah, he did say that they have multiple projects in the works, but they've had to turn away projects because so many people saw how their port of Doom ran that they've had to turn away projects because so many people are asking for their help. And he said it's been like he's like, I'm not like the head of the studio or anything, but it's kind of nice that our studio has the ability to pick and choose what projects they want to do because of there's so much potential that the Switch provides.
Did we have that who was the one having problems putting their game on Switch? Was it like THQ or something? We had that discussion why Panic Button could get stuff working on Switch, but some other AAA developer can't do it themselves.
Yeah, I don't remember who we were talking about. That was who was that? I guess I could look it up, but yeah, Panic Button. I don't know. Panic Button. The Panic Button dude seemed like a really cool dude, and I wouldn't mind having them on here once Wolfenstein 2 ships.
Nice.
I was surprised they haven't expanded for the games that they release. He
said they've hired a few people to take on some other workload. They've grown as a studio because of the influx of work that they're getting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But they're very particular with who they hire because they're a porting studio. They're not really a development studio, so a lot of them they have to have some of the top engineers. So whatever. I thought it was cool that he actually talked a lot and didn't just kind of have the standard PR answers. I mean, he did, but he actually was pretty more than a lot of the other people. So glad but Wolfenstein 2 looks great. I'm sold on the Switch version. I've been waiting for the Switch version. So yeah, Wolfenstein 2 on Switch. If you're waiting for that version, you're not going to be disappointed. Yeah. I know Game Informer had a article up that said reasons why we're excited and some reasons why we're concerned. And I was like, some of the concerns they have, I'm like, dude, I get it. I love Game Informer. It's gonna have some issues just for the fact that the hardware isn't as powerful as an Xbox One or PS4. Mm-hmm. But I was impressed, and whatever. I've played Doom. I've played Doom on 4K.
Want that game? Just let it run, let it be steady, and let me enjoy it. I don't think they're worried about some of the technical stuff. Like if it's a solid 30 and it runs good, hey, why not?
Yeah. No. Yeah. So, what was it? What else? Oh, I played just about 5 minutes of Donkey Kong and 5 minutes of Hyrule Warriors. Donkey Kong. The one thing I have to say about Donkey Kong is the character models, like of Donkey Kong and Diddy and the main Kongs, It looked like they've gotten they've switched out character models or something, because I don't know, it just looks a lot cleaner and a lot I don't know, it looks like Donkey Kong, like the same thing I said about Dark Souls, where Donkey Kong's fur kind of looks like it flows a little bit better in the animations, and Diddy Kong looks like his roll or his somersault animation is a little bit more fluid, and I don't know, everything just looked a little bit more fluid and cleaner. And Funky Kong, I played a little bit as Funky Kong just because that's the new thing in the game.
Mm-hmm.
He's really cool, dude. He's dumb, but he's cool. And the idle animation, if you just leave Donkey Kong sitting there, and I heard a rumor that they changed his idle animation, but I wasn't sure what it was. And they changed it from him flipping open a 3DS to pulling out a Switch and Diddy Kong walking behind him and watching him play. I was like, that's a really neat touch,
Yeah.
So, I didn't really notice any differences in Hyrule Warriors. It did look a little bit cleaner, but I mean that comes with any kind of upgrade or definitive edition or whatever. I did see the Breath of the Wild costumes. I didn't get to play the Breath of the Wild costumes, but I saw them. They had a monitor there with a bunch of demos on it and stuff, and they look cool. Zelda looks cool. She has this sword that can, when she does that spin attack that Link usually does, has this purple kind of ring, kind of almost reminds me of a little magic spell that comes out when she does the spin move. It looks really pretty, and the animation, and it's not as choppy as the Wii U version was when you 50 or 100 enemies at a time. It's very smooth. But
do you feel like it justifies the cost increase from the Wii U version?
What, Hyrule Warriors?
Donkey Kong, since we kind of
Donkey Kong
grazed past that.
I don't know. I didn't really play enough to see if there's anything really new, but
Sound like there was, other than Funky Kong.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, is the Funky Kong stuff. So if you have a Wii U, unless you want this game portably, and you have a Wii U, honestly, play the Wii U version. But if you don't have the Wii U version, if you don't have a Wii U, you should play this game, because it's an underrated 2D platformer. I feel like the people that bought it loved it, and everybody else just slept on it because it was on Wii U. So.
Yeah, I actually let that one slide past me, and I should have, because I really did like Country Returns on Wii. It was fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Hell, I ended up getting it twice because I got it on 3DS as well. So
yeah, I ended up I got it on Wii, but I played through about 2 worlds on Wii, and then I put it down, and I ended up getting the 3DS version, and I actually played through that. So
yeah, I was kind of in the same boat. I started it on the Wii, and I didn't really delve into it until I had it on 3DS.
Yeah.
And that's when I actually got into it enough to finish it. So,
yeah.
Something about platformers and portability just plays well together, but
yeah,
which is going to sound really contradictory when we talk about what I've been playing. But anyways, so let's. How about some of the just grazing over some of the big AAA stuff from Microsoft and Sony over at PAX?
So the only kind of AAA things that Microsoft brought were they brought Sea of Thieves, and the rumor around there was they brought Sea of Thieves because Crackdown was not ready to show, and some of the representatives were kind of whispering that Sea of Thieves didn't do as well as they wanted it to, so they took Sea of Thieves instead. Which is fun. It's funny to watch people play Sea of Thieves for the first time and having a good time and stuff. And I was just like, man, they really kind of missed an opportunity here, because these lines are super long for people to get in on Crackdown. But played State of Decay 2. It feels so much better and so much cleaner than the first one. Like, you could tell they had a way bigger budget on this game. It feels super clean. It feels, the shooting mechanics and stuff kind of feel like almost Tomb Raider-esque. Okay. Or like, that's kind of like what the movement and the shooting feel like is kind of like Rise of the Tomb Raider. It's not as tight as Gears or even as tight as Tomb Raider, but I mean, it felt really good still. It felt really solid. Like we did a co-op session and we were kind of scavenging around, and it's kind of weird because like you don't want to make any noise, but every time you open a door, you make a noise. Every time you open a fridge or open a chest or open a drawer, like it makes noise and attracts zombies. And I don't know if this was in the first game or not, but they added these little like flashbangs where like you can throw them off in the distance and it'll distract zombies that way while you go in the other direction to loot something. And then me and my friend Mitch, who I was doing the co-op session with, we found shotguns and we were walking around and he got a car and started the car. I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you getting in the car? There are no zombies. And we go from having like 1 or 2 zombies lurking around to like 20. And he's driving this car and he tries to run over one of those big, like the big fat ones that are in the trailer. And like this thing just explodes all over the car to the point where like he's driving the car and we have to like dive out Grand Theft Auto style of the car because the zombie has acid that is poisoning you. So we had to dive out and take on this giant horde of zombies. And we kind of like funneled ourselves into this kind of like this courtyard of abandoned mansion, and we're taking out these zombies. But it feels really good. If they said they're going to tighten up the shooting mechanics a little bit, but the reps from Undead were there. And they were saying like, yeah, they definitely gave us a lot more time and a lot more money to work on this game. And they actually have some of the devs from the Coalition. They kind of moved over to Undead Labs to work on the shooting mechanics because they want this game to be the best kind of zombie survival game it can be. So that was kind of cool to hear.
Nice. But
the only other Xbox game that they had was PUBG. Which
Lame.
It was fine. It feels good to play. Like, but everything that we were playing on was on a PC. Like we weren't playing on Xbox builds. We were playing on PC builds because the stuff that Microsoft sent them malfunctioned. Like 70% of 70% of like the Xbox One X's that were there malfunctioned, and they had to go out late Thursday night to like all these electronic stores to buy the high-end gaming PCs, and they had to get like a budget from Microsoft how much they could spend on gaming PCs so they could play the games because or Microsoft was just going to be screwed. But while we were standing in line, we saw Major Nelson and Morgan Webb, and it was really cool.
Nice. Yeah.
Because Morgan Webb works PR for Microsoft now, I guess.
So I'm curious, because I know you didn't mention it. I'm guessing it's not there, but considering it's almost a year out from their announcement, was there anything on Ori and Will of the Wisps?
No, I was surprised that Ori wasn't there. Like Crackdown and Ori were the 2 games, but like I don't know why they weren't there, but they had. Yeah, but I mean, they announced Ori already. I thought they would have had at least a playable demo.
They're saving more of that for like their indie section for E3. They don't want to bring anything that big to PAX.
Well, they brought State of Decay 2 and below.
State of Decay 2. A lot of people are not paying attention to that game. They probably just need that something to shock people. Well, not shock, but to sell people on. Ori and stuff, that's a big game that they'll do for E3. They want to bring it to something like PAX.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like PAX would have been the better audience for it, though.
Yeah, just to get it in people's hands. I feel like
Nintendo's dominated with a lot of indie titles and stuff like that.
But Ori is an indie. Ori's Microsoft.
Ori's Moon Studios.
I mean, yeah, but Ori started out as an indie game before Microsoft got them. So Ori is not big as something like as Gears of War.
Right, and that's why I think PAX would have been the right place to pull it out. That's why I think it would have been better at PAX. Yeah.
Just because that's where like indies thrive.
It would have made sense, to do that. But if Microsoft is not bringing other indies to that booth, it doesn't. Ori and the Blind Forest would have did nothing for them. It would have did nothing for Microsoft. So they're trying to save.
Should have at least put something up.
Right. If they would have did it at PAX, then Microsoft would have been in trouble at E3. Because then, what do they show at E3 that's going to really get people into want to watch in their conference? If they throw everything at PAX.
I'm just saying, considering, like I said, it's been almost a year since we've really heard anything on Ori.
Doesn't mean nothing. Look at Sony; they did stuff for a whole year, and we still haven't seen anything. That's a shame. Mm-hmm. That's a shame. We're just now getting.
I mean, the same with Nintendo. I was just kind of a little more vexed, given that Microsoft doesn't really feel like they've had as much going on as Nintendo and Sony has. Like they feel like they've got more ground to cover than the competition, as it were.
I mean, I think if they would have bought a lot of the games from E3, like some of the big games or exclusives to E3, not E3 to PAX from E3, then yeah, I could see that really happening. Like going in a competition, at least with Nintendo and with Sony. But I think Microsoft was just waiting for E3 because they think they can sell more people than they can at PAX. They wouldn't get that much coverage at PAX because of Nintendo.
I don't know. If they brought big shit, then it will get covered. It's kind of the if you build it, they will come mentality. But
yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of the people I heard a lot of people asking where Ori was while I was there. So I don't know. I feel like it would have done better in the booth where DayZ and below was at. They could have had like another monitor with Ori there, and people would have been stoked. But I don't know. I think Microsoft kind of had a poor showing at PAX, honestly. Like, I liked what I played. There just wasn't a lot there, I mean, even Sony brought stuff that was like, okay, maybe it's not PlayStation, like, first-party stuff, but we have a ton of PlayStations here, so play the games on PlayStation.
It's April, and they're gearing up for E3. I think Nintendo.
Well,
because of
PlayStation's gearing up for Detroit because I don't think that game's going to do very well.
Yeah.
Because what I played, it was not very good.
Really? That's fucking disappointing.
It was. I mean, we can talk about that in a little bit, but in the Microsoft booth, I just want to finish up the Microsoft booth stuff. I played PUBG. I thought it felt really good. Like I came home and downloaded it because I thought it played real solid and like I wanted to try it out, and I actually like it more than I like Fortnite, to be honest with you.
Did they have Code Vein at Microsoft, or that was just that network?
Yeah. There's a 20-second video on the YouTube page because the lady that was running the Code Vein station yelled at me for filming it, but whatever. Look, I got to do what I got to do. Okay, I don't have time for these like cosplaying booth babes. I thought it was in 2008 again, but like to yell at me about filming a game that people are interested in. Sorry that our audience is interested in your game and I want to show it to them. Sorry,
right? Sorry
for your free marketing, Bandai Namco.
Kind of funny they didn't have a sign that said no recording or anything.
They did.
Corey just promptly ignored it.
I did. I wasn't in line. So
here's something for you, Eddie. I'm rattling thoughts around in my brain. Here's what they should have done for Microsoft for Ori. they should have wheeled out Ori, and they should have flown in Milton to actually talk to people while they were there.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's what the Below guys did. Like, 2 of the Below devs were there talking to people. Actually, I think there was like 3 or 4 of them, but there were only 2 manning the booth while I was there. And like, another thing is like, I love talking to indie devs about their game, and like, when people are starting to put out their games, you can, like, when they talk to you and stuff, you can tell how nervous they are about people playing their game, like the public playing their game for the first time. And it's like
the reaction.
Look, I played like when I was at Cappy, when I was at Bishop, and when I was talking to the Dead Cells guy. Like, now granted, 2 of the 3 devs aren't English speaking, and like I can't really get a feel off of, like, because I don't know how different languages kind of portrayed how nervous they are or anything, but all 3 of them felt really nervous when I was asking them questions about their game.
They're nervous because they don't want to mess up. They want to get the message out, but they're nervous because they want to see how people are going to react to their games. They're there for the reactions. They're not. Yeah. They're not there for the interviews and all that PR talk. Like, all of that stuff will come later.
Well, that's not true, because I sat in the press for 2 demos, so they were there for questions. But
I mean, they were there for questions. But if the developers just want to see, the developers are more interested. Like, what are your thoughts? Do you like this? What you don't like? Because they want to make sure that they bring out a product that's going to appeal to everybody. Like, you're making a game, and yeah, it's a business that you're selling it, and that's more important to them. It's going to be the reactions, because guess what? Just because you said something, you did a PR thing, that's fine, unless you messed up in your messaging with that. But if they could get word could get around and how good that game is, or if how bad the game is and stuff, that, you know, it's in a state that's not good, they're going to be looking more to that. They're not going to be looking on the websites and on Twitter and social media to find out how they did on a PR or on a PR discussion or talk. They want to see if Little Timmy is going to pick up this game, or if Big John is going to pick up this game. What is his thoughts at PAX? That's going to interest them more. So they're nervous about that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess, but it was just interesting watching them, like, kind of like watch it, like they were like kind of sneaking around people, watching them play, and like I sat and played Below for like, I probably played Below for like 25 minutes, and the guy was like, "Are you liking it? Are you doing okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, man." I'm like, look, I'm sold on this game. I'm playing it so I can talk about it on my podcast. Like, I was like, look, I'm co-host on 4 podcasts. I run 4 podcasts. I'm like running this YouTube channel. Like, I want to get the word out there, and we have a lot, like, between all 5 of our shows, like our 5 of our podcasts, we have huge download numbers to the point where, like, we can make a difference in this if we get the word out about these games. And so
that's what they're looking for. That's what they want. That's why I said that's more important. So they're nervous because they don't know how the reaction is going to be.
Yeah. But, you know, Below was kind of, I didn't play it in the Microsoft booth. It was at the Microsoft booth, but I played it at, why is my mind blanking right now? Cappy. I played it in their booth, and like, the minute I sat down, and like the game, the demo opens up, you get off a boat, and you're just stranded on this island, right? And kind of feels a little bit like Zelda in a way, where like, I got off this boat, I went to this campfire off to the right, and it was just like, you know, you light the campfire, and like, there's 3 pieces of fish laying around the campfire, uncooked. It says uncooked fish. You walk up to the campfire, it gives you the option to cook fish, put out fire, light torch. And so I was like, I'll cook the fish, because like, I'm thinking Breath of the Wild, like, if I cook the fish, it'll provide me more hearts and whatever. And then I go explore, and I find a cave, and I go into this cave, and I just start exploring this cave. And, you know, there's like 5 different exits out of this cave, and they lead you to other areas of the map. One leads you out back to the bonfire, and one leads you up onto this cliff. Like, all these different ways to explore it. I just explored, and I had some really nice headphones on, and the music's just really kind of like relaxing, and kind of you hear the water breaking in the background because you're on the island, and you hear the light swipes of your sword. You hear stuff hitting your shield. I found a shield, by the way. You can play the whole game without finding a weapon. But you collect these little light orbs to unlock new kind of pathways and then, I guess, quote unquote, harder areas of the game. And I'm sold on Below, man. I don't usually like survival games, but I'm sold on Below. It was beautiful. I was like, I was asking the dev, I'm like, I don't want this to come out the wrong way, but the last time I saw this game, like, it looks a lot cleaner and a lot smoother now. And they bumped the frame rate up from 30 frames to 60 frames. It's running at 4K, and it has HDR support if you have it at one or something else eventually. So, I mean, Below is really good. Really, really solid. And the one thing is they didn't say it was an Xbox exclusive anymore. They said Xbox console first. And so I guess there's some, because I was like, is this still an Xbox exclusive? Because I could really see myself like pouring time into this on, say, a little handheld console not made by Microsoft.
A lot of exclusives for Microsoft are time. None of the exclusives. And he just said it was. He's like, it's Xbox first. We don't really have anything else to announce at this time. We're just focusing on the Xbox and PC platforms. Just keep following us. That's all he said. And I was like, don't worry, we'll do. Because like I could really see myself pouring time into this game on Switch. But it was good. So what else do we want to, where do we want to go from here? I mean, I played a lot. I played Dead Cells, I played Chasm, I played Shovel Knight. Well, go to Sony.
Yeah, we really didn't hit much of Sony.
I mean, there's not really much to hit. Detroit was, I mean, I'm not looking
forward to
Talk to
me about Detroit because I was totally fucking jazzed about this.
So, the rooftop scene that they showed at E3 first, the first thing, that was the demo I played. That was the demo I played. And they with you as an android in this apartment that looks like it's been shot up, right? And like, there's no context of who you are. There's no context of what you're doing. So I walk into this one room and I kind of like turn the camera, which by the way, camera in this game, awful. Like, it's so awful. It feels like the camera doesn't stop when you want it to, and it doesn't. It's one of those cameras where like when you start swinging it, and like the delay that you have to stop moving the stick and move it again because you think the camera's not going to move, and then it just moves. It's got a delayed input, which was my biggest gripe of the demo, was delayed input. And I don't know if it was the console I was playing on or that's just the game. I'm not into Quantic Dreams games at all. Like I've never played any of them. They just never had any interest in me. But Ed, I know you're super interested in Detroit, and I know Matt's interested. But I mean, it felt really slow to me, and like the third person camera is like super close to the character, which is really annoying. But like I walk into this room, I turn the camera on, I'm like, okay, I'm a police officer. I'm an android police officer, and I'm investigating this apartment that's been shot up. This family's been killed, and the other android has this girl held hostage on the rooftop. So I'm like, okay. So, man, I got all this, like, I need some water. I'm not used to talking this much. I see all the, like, some of the police officers have been shot too, and some of them are dead. So like I go up and investigate the bodies. There's like, once you start investigating the bodies, like the room to the Arkham style detective mode, where like the room gets blue with all these lines, and like outlines of the figures are blue, and I don't know if it started in City or in Origins, but the scene reconstruction, where like you can kind of rewind and fast forward through the scene and kind of see what happened. It
kind of almost sounds like the Telltale Batman Adventure games, because when you do like investigating and you find stuff, stuff gets highlighted and everything.
Yeah, this is. I mean, I'm kind of waiting to play Batman until the second season. I mean, I know the second season just finished, so I'm waiting for the second season to come to Switch, and I'm going to play season 1 and 2 back to back. But like it felt a lot like Arkham Origins scene reconstruction did, and like certain points in the scene are highlighted. Like you see like this bar at the bottom, and that's the length of the scene. Some of them are highlighted blue because when there's a blue part in the bar, that means there's a new item to in the scene, right?
Yeah.
So you're investigating that item, and then there's a yellow part at the very end that's like, okay, this is where something massive happened, and then there's like, oh, okay, when this guy got shot, his phone flew out of his hand, so it kind of leads you to the next thing to go investigate. And so, like, I'll go investigate the phone. I went into the little girl's room, did some stuff, and I was doing all these investigating. And, like, when you're investigating, instead of just pressing, like, X or square or triangle, they have you do, like, fighting game mechanics on the right stick, like down and curve or down, up, and circle around.
Yeah,
like
that's Heavy Rain. Heavy Rain does the same thing.
Yeah, and I was like, can I just press square like a normal human being to investigate this stuff? I mean, it's not like I'm gonna like fall off a ledge here or anything. I'm looking at a police officer's badge here. You know, I'm just turning it over and stuff. But and even like the game was not graphically impressive either. Like I don't know like what those trailers are running on, but they are not PlayStation 4s. Like God of War and Horizon both look way better than this game.
Is it like the Aliens Colonial Marines kind of thing, where it looks graphically impressive, but when you actually see it running on the system, you're like, this doesn't look the same? Yeah,
it doesn't look the same as the trailers at all. Like, I mean, you get up, and I don't know if it was like monitor I was playing on, or if the PlayStation 4 Pro wasn't set up correctly or whatever, but it did not look. I mean, it looked fine. It didn't look. I've seen better looking games that do a lot more.
I wonder if this game might need a patch, or it's going to get a patch on day one.
Yeah, I mean, when's it supposed to come out? May? I bet it gets delayed. I bet it gets delayed, or they're just sending it out to be like, look, we spent too much money on it.
He's out there doing press, so if they don't do nothing, if they don't delay it by April, not April, delay it for the rest of this month, then we're going to have to get a patch.
Yeah,
I mean, if they get the story right, then it could survive it. You know, but you definitely have to fucking nail the story.
Speaking of story, like all the people running the Detroit booth were like moms, which was weird. Like, and I don't like the first thing that popped into my mind was like, okay, there's that like child abuse scene in this game somewhere, or like domestic violence scene in this game, and I wonder if like they're trying to get away from that by having all these older women run these demos. And I'm like, this is just kind of weird because like, I mean, like Namco Bandai had, I mean, look, the Namco Bandai booth, I thought it was like 2008 with like all these scantily clad like
booth babes.
Yeah, I didn't want to use that word, but yeah.
Let's call a spade a spade.
Right.
Even Nintendo had like a bunch of like young women working in the booth that were like, you know, whatever, and they had, you know, hip young guys working there. Like the people working at PlayStation, like just the Detroit booth, like the rest of the PlayStation booth had like younger people working it, but like just the Detroit booth had like moms working there. Like I thought one of them was gonna walk up to me and ask me if I wanted a snack or something because like.
Probably
like you look hungry. Do you need a sandwich? Let me make you a sandwich.
Probably because of like, the allegation stuff. That's in the
like, that was my first thought, but I was just like, look, probably 80% that are at this convention don't know that that's going on. So like,
oh, they know what's going on.
I don't know. It was just like, I don't know, whatever. But in the PlayStation booth, I played Soul Calibur 6. Where's my notes here? Soul Calibur 6, I only 5 or like 7 minutes. I was like, I got my fill of it. It feels more deliberate and defensive than the older
Soul
Caliburs. It feels more accessible.
Interesting. See, I never thought that Soul Calibur felt inaccessible. At least 1 and 2. 3 kind of turned me off at that point, but.
I mean, I haven't played Soul Calibur since 2, and I've played a lot of other fighting games that were not as accessible since then, so maybe Soul Calibur just felt... Well, I guess I played Soul Calibur 4 because of the Star Wars
Yoda
stuff.
And Darth Vader, yeah.
Yeah, I stopped after 2. After Link felt so good in that game, I was just like, I don't want to play anything else of Soul Calibur.
Yeah. Spawn was awesome in that, too. Heihachi, not so much, but Spawn was fairly underappreciated for what he was.
Yeah. The combos felt kind of simplified, and like I kind of mastered is a long stretch of that, but like within like 2 minutes, I kind of got a feel for one of the characters I was playing as. I don't know who I was playing as. I just picked one because I was like, I just want to play just to get a feel for it. But like I felt like the combos were easier to pick up than most fighting games. The weapons feel really cool. I was playing this guy with like a long katana sword. It felt really good. Sure. I don't know. He had a black ponytail.
Yeah, Mitsurugi. He's he's like the Ryu of
Soul Calibur.
Yeah.
The character models look amazing in that game. But like I mean, I was blown away by the character models in that game, but like the environments look unfinished, which is kind of understandable for this build, you know, like they want the characters to feel right. But the environments felt really unfinished and kind of muddy. They didn't have a lot of the lighting, I guess, in this build, but the characters felt good. There's only 6 characters in the demo, so I don't know any of them. I wanted to play as Geralt from The Witcher, but he wasn't in the demo, so yeah, whatever. Speaking of Soul Calibur, and by speaking of, has nothing to do with Soul Calibur except for it's another fighting game. Mm-hmm. SNK Heroines was the other game in the Nintendo booth that I played. It was a freaking awesome, dumb fighting game. It kind of felt like Street Fighter and Smash Brothers kind of had a baby, and they were all scantily clad women.
It was just like this insane clusterfuck of bikinis and boobs everywhere.
Yeah, dude. The one character in that game, her starting stance is literally her bending over, swinging her boobs like this. I'm like. Really?
Probably that would be my.
But SNK Heroines was fun, man. Like they said, it's going to be a locked 30, 1080p or locked 60 at launch. But the demo was running at 30, and I think 30 was being generous. I think it was more like 20, 22 frames a second.
Oh. Was it like when they do the combos, it was like stuttering, like hitting and stuff?
Yeah. The game would literally like stop when you hit a big combo.
Yeah, they kind of showed that in the trailer, so I wonder if that's going to change later on.
Yeah, but he said the game's going to feel a lot faster and a lot, and the frame rate's going to be locked 60. They're aiming for a locked 60, even if the resolution they're aiming for 1080, but they might dumb it down to 900.
Who's the publisher of SNK now? Is it Hamster?
No, I think it's SNK. I think it's
I'm pretty sure SNK still publishes all their own shit.
No, but Hamster does their eShop stuff for the old games, for the arcades.
That might just be for porting old arcade stuff.
Yeah, but SNK is doing their own because I think they do their own for PS4 with the last King of Fighters that came out for like 14. I think SNK might have did it. That's why I was just wondering, is there like is the Hamster and SNK got a partnership?
I don't know. It didn't say Hamster anywhere at the booth. So
okay.
The other game I forgot to mention at the Nintendo booth that I played for like 5 minutes and I was like, okay, I'm good, was Crash.
Okay.
Crash was, I mean, it looked pretty, it looked fine.
Crash was Crash.
It's Crash. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. It's just Crash.
Just move on.
So,
but back to, oh, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I figured you were rounding up with SNK there. I wanted to ask your thoughts because I've been ranting and raving about this shit for weeks now. I was going to segue here because I figured this is a great segue. Speaking of heroin, tell me what you think of Dead Cells.
Well, before you get to Dead Cells, was that all the Sony stuff? First.
I don't know what to do. I
I mean,
we'll finish up at the Sony booth because there's a couple games I want to like kind of skim over, and they kind of lead into Dead Cells because Dead Cells is like of all the kind of roguelite Metroid Castlevania style games, like Dead Cells is clearly the best one that I played. But I played about 5 minutes of Chasm, which is coming to PS4 and Vita.
Yeah.
And Moose really wanted me to play it, so I was like, fine, I'll play it.
That game
but he's still making Vita shit? Really?
All.
Jesus.
I think it looks cool. Like, it's got an interesting concept, but like everything that it's trying to do, Dead Cells did 10 times better. Like the pixel art, right? It has a cool pixel art style, but Dead Cells looks better. Like, I feel like, you know those games where you get the pixel art and the characters are just like a little bit too big for this environment that they're exploring? That's what Chasm feels like. Like the character sprites are too big for the world that they're exploring. And then the world just feels like super zoomed in, which like in a Metroidvania style game, I kind of want the camera pulled out. You know, that's why I like Axiom Verge so much. It's why Dead Cells works, I think, because you can see like
a lot.
You can see a lot going on at one time, and in Chasm, you really can't see a lot going on.
Yeah,
you know, the camera is kind of like, what's a game that I can compare it to? I can't really think of anything else.
That is zoomed in a little bit.
How about Metroid 2?
I would kind of say, well, no.
Yeah. That's exactly what you nailed it. Like, it's super zoomed in. The character takes up too much for you to feel comfortable moving through the environment. The sound effects are nice, but like, again, when you're like jumping down, Chasm's sound sounds way better. Dead Cells sounds way better. The music sounds better. Like, I feel bad because Chasm looks like a cool game, and if Dead Cells didn't exist, I would be a lot higher on Chasm. Except for the fact that 5 minutes into the demo, the unit crashed, and it did it to me 3 times. The unit crashed 3 times. So I didn't really get to see a lot of it, but like just that initial like
maybe that's why that's why that trailer for that game was so bad that all you see, pretty much just see him running to different places. Like you don't really see him do.
Well, that trailer is like how zoomed in that game is. Like that's the game. It's not like zoomed in on purpose. That's just the game.
And that's why I was that's why I was just like, this game looks boring. I'm like, I don't know what you do in that game. It just looks like you run a different environment.
Because it's got a similar style to Dead Cells in the fact that you're exploring and fighting enemies and kind of in this place where you don't really know. It's just that Dead Cells does it so much better that it's like Dead Cells is lucky that it's coming to Switch first, and Chasm's coming to PS4 first. Because if they were coming out on both systems at the same time, Chasm would be in trouble.
Well, Chasm is already in trouble. I think.
There's a lot of hype around that game. I've been reading a lot about that game, that people on PS4 that are excited for it, but
I think that's going to be a smaller majority because of Chasm. Yeah, if Chasm and Dead Cells would have dropped at the same time, Dead Cells is going to kill it.
Dude, Dead Cells gonna they made me take a survey, and I got a sweet Nintendo bag for taking the survey.
Nice.
But Nintendo made me take a survey, and it was really hard for me to pick what the best game was, but I wanted to give it to Dead Cells because whatever game has the most votes, they're going to promote the most. And and I like Dead Cells. Mm-hmm. I was like, I'm going to pick Dead Cells because I think it deserves my vote, right?
Yeah.
Well, apparently everybody else was thinking the same thing because it was Dead Cells and Dark Souls were close, and then those two were just blowing away every other game.
Jesus.
Well, before you get to Dead Cells, I don't know if you finished with Sony, The Messenger. Because it seems that it was on the same level as Dead Cells in a way, but two different viewpoints.
It's not like Dead Cells at all. The Messenger is. I probably should have talked about this. I was waiting for Messenger when we got to some cool indies. But since you brought it up, Messenger is straight up Ninja Gaiden for NES, straight up, except for the fact that the time mechanic in the game, where you play through the 8-bit stuff relatively quickly, and then you're launched 30 years in the future
to the 16-bit.
But then, and the whole game turns 16-bit, and then you have to time travel. There's certain points in the game where I think you at some point you get the mechanic all the time. But there's certain points in the game where you can time travel back to the 8-bit stuff to solve, because there'll be a tree in your way, right? You have to go back to the 8-bit and solve the puzzle on how to cut down the tree, and then you jump back to the future and that tree's no longer there, and you can continue your quest.
Does it feel substantial enough to justify the gimmick?
I only the gimmick was cool. But there was such a long line, they only let 7 or 8 minutes. And by the time, half of my demo was spent reading a text box because they were telling me how to, open crates and stuff for better items. And I was, trying to smash through it. I'm like, I get it. You press A to open the crate. But it was, old school NES stuff where, it would just keep going and going and going and going. So, half of my demo was in this house reading about this box that's going to give me a special item that would help me, do the time mechanic. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Come on. So I only got to use the time mechanic twice, but I thought the time mechanic was cool enough to if they space it out right and you go back and you have to where the mechanic I think will shine is if they implement it into boss battles and stuff. If you go fight a boss and you have to rewind time to trap the boss in this one little area or whatever, and then move ahead in time, I think that could be cool. But again, I only got to play for about 5 minutes, the game proper for about 5 minutes.
How's the gameplay? The action?
It feels, dude. If you know how to play Ninja Gaiden for NES, you know how to play this game.
Okay, that's all I care for.
The running is you would swear the code was lifted right out of the NES version. The running feels like it. The sword swipes feel like it. The
music?
The music is similar but different enough to it's cool. It sounds cool. It's got a little bit more bass, I feel to it than the NES version, but it's running on new hardware. I don't see why the music.
Is it rock action kind of throughout it in a sense?
It's kind of it because there was a ton of people talking, but it kind of sounded like Mega Man-esque a little bit.
That's fine.
With a little bit of a Asian feel to it. Yeah. Okay. So, but it sounded cool. Dude, the running animation and the wall jumps and stuff is straight up Ninja Gaiden. He even does a little flip when you jump. It's insane. It's insane how
I was just caring about the gameplay. If it was just like action packed, if it feels good, that's all I care for. I don't care about the time mechanic. That's nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's about all I played at Sony's. I mean, the Messenger was at Nintendo's booth, and they had their own booth, but
okay.
There's nothing really else worth to talk about. Actually, if you're a fan of Super Meat Boy Forever is the continuous running version of Super Meat Boy, and actually feels a lot better than I thought it was going to feel.
Really?
Yeah, it kind of has that. Did you ever play the Rayman games on phone?
No.
It kind of feels like that, but the timing felt good, the speed felt good, it felt like Super Meat Boy, and I was like, how do they make a continuous runner feel like this? I was impressed. And you had to play it more like a rhythm game.
Okay. A little more like a la Bit Trip Runner.
Yeah.
I was about to say runner.
Yeah. But it was fun. It was cool. I was not looking forward to that game at all, and now I'm thoroughly interested to see how that game turns out.
Okay. So,
yeah. Oh, speaking of rhythm games, Just Shapes and Beats.
Yes. Talk to me.
Bullet Hell game. Oh, it's awesome.
Yes.
It's so cool. I sucked at it, but I was watching one of the Nintendo people that clearly has played this game the last 4 years of his life.
Was he a big black man on the
microphone?
Yeah,
that guy. Yeah, the video on the YouTube page is that guy. That I watched that guy play it. Dude, he was freaking amazing at that game. I'm I don't know how you're pressing all these buttons at one time, but because it looked like, when you watch the professional Guitar Hero players play the game and their fingers are moving like that.
I just want to point out for a second that phrase makes me throw up in my mouth a little bit.
Professional Guitar Hero players.
Yeah.
Sorry. But I didn't mean it like that. I just meant
every
people that are
respectable
really good
musician just rolled over in their grave.
I know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that. I just meant people that are really good at Guitar Hero. That's all right.
I'm so glad that never made it to full blown esports competitive gaming. That's just
but it's like watching somebody playing Guitar Hero really fast, but on a pro controller.
Right.
He was playing. He was literally playing with his pointer finger and his thumb on the top on the Pro controller, with his middle finger on the R2 or RZ.
Yeah,
and it's how are you this good? And it was really good. It's a cool game to watch and listen to, man.
It looks good. I think the problem with the video is that I couldn't hear it, so I think it's something that you gotta probably just when the game comes out, if they do a demo, check it out. But if they release the full game,
go watch the trailers. On Nintendo's YouTube page, there's a trailer for it. The music, the video online doesn't do it justice. But if you go to Nintendo's YouTube channel and listen to the music, game sounds amazing. I would want that soundtrack.
When they showed it at the Nindies Direct,
mm-hmm.
In hearing, I'm just oh yeah, this is gonna be my house music game.
Yeah, this was one of the few things from that Nindies Direct that really grabbed me and made me kind of perk up.
Yeah,
it feels like this could possibly be the next iteration to what we've been missing since the original Bit Trip series went dark when it finished.
Yeah.
Wasn't Runner supposed to come out?
Yeah,
Runner 3 is coming up.
It was there. I didn't play it. I was just I know what Runner is. I don't need to play it. Whatever.
And the sad thing is, as much as I love the Bit Trip stuff, the Runner stuff just doesn't do it for me. The first Runner was my least favorite out of all 6 of those games. And the fact that that's the one tangent that they've continued on with Bit Trip, rather than any of the others that were fucking awesome.
I like the shoot 'em up one.
Fate.
Yeah, I love that one.
Fate was awesome.
That soundtrack is crazy. Bunker's good.
Oh my god, it's so good. Yeah, momentary pimp moment here. Just if any of you have the opportunity, go get on Amazon and buy a copy of the Bit Trip Complete Collection for the Wii. Buy a new sealed copy because the soundtrack is in there for all 6 games.
It would be cool if they actually... I didn't even think about that, them bringing that to Switch.
I would love to see it on Switch. Oh my god, bring it back! Ah!
Sorry, Corey.
Those 6 games were just unbelievable.
So... Yeah, okay, so what do we want to go into now? Super Meat Boy, I mean, like, it has a different art style than the one that's on Switch. It looks more like the hand-drawn cutscenes than the cutscenes is a heavy word. Like the hand-drawn stills that tell the story, but it still feels really good. So
Firewatch, was it there, or they just did the announcement?
No, it wasn't there.
Okay,
but there was a game. Like, I guess we're just gonna go into some of the indies that I played now. Mm-hmm. The first game I kind of want to give a shout out to. It's only on Steam right now, but you brought up Firewatch, and it's kind of like a walking sim, but like the Matrix meets Tron style walking simulator, where like the game builds out these elaborate kind of like Tron-esque worlds that you can walk through. It's called Zero North, Zero West. And you can play it either on Steam or in Steam VR. And it's just a walking simulator where you walk through these kind of Tron-esque worlds where, like, you know, all the buildings are kind of like, well, I guess it would be more like Blade Runner-esque, where, like, everything's very colorful and dark at the same time. And
right, it's kind of got that neon thing.
Yeah, and it looked really cool, and
you said Zero North, Zero West?
Yeah.
Spelled out 0 or the number 0?
The card he gave me...
Found it?
Okay.
It's listed really fucking weird on Steam. Like, I was looking it up. Trying to type out the whole thing. Just start with the number 0 and go from there.
Yeah.
It'll come up as like 0 degrees north, 0 degrees west.
Yeah. And it was, I mean, it's nothing like super impressive or anything. I just thought it was like a really cool take on the walking sim. Mm-hmm. So, if you're into walking sims and you're into like that, so you should check it out a little bit. Like, it was literally like 2 guys at their booth trying to show off their game, and I was like, oh, it looks cool. I'll try it out.
Yeah, I'm looking at the trailer on Steam and I'm just going, yep, this has my interest.
Yeah,
because it looks like it's just it says here, you know, a visual auditory stimuli adventure.
Yeah,
like,
the music
cool.
was pretty kind of like what can I compare it to? Kind of like Stranger Things-esque, like the theme song to Stranger Things, kind of that synth style, kind of slowy synth stuff. So it was cool. Definitely wear headphones if you play it.
Yeah, I'm bookmarking that for later. So
I wonder why. When did they announce it for Switch, or like was that first time they announced it?
What?
Zero.
No, it's only on Steam. It's only on Steam.
Okay.
So I'm gonna get into some of the Team 17 stuff. Planet Alpha was there. It's like this really kind of simple platforming game. It's like a platforming exploratory adventure where you're like just exploring these different planets, but you're just trying to get through and some cool platforming and stuff. Light puzzle solving. The enemies that were in the game were just kind of like, they kind of reminded me of like Sonic enemies, where they just kind of like showed up for a minute to get in your way and then they left. So that game was really cool. It had a really awesome art style though. It was cool because the backgrounds and the environments looked really, really pretty, and then the effects when you would run by like the flowers or the tall blades of grass and just the little touches of the effects is like you run by the flowers and like little like petals kind of fly up in the air and kind of blow in the wind, and it wasn't like an amazing game, but just the little touches of the game made it a little bit more special than those types of platformers. So Ed, this one's straight up your alley. Raging Justice is a side-scrolling beat-em up.
Yeah. I see the trailer for it.
It kind of had a Streets of Rage meets Double Dragon feel to it, but like modernized. The hitboxes. It is slow, but so was Double Dragon. Double Dragon is slow on NES, so like, yeah, it had that old school. But the hitboxes felt really good, except for like, and we'll get to this later. But it had the same issue I had with Shaq Fu. But like, your attacks are limited to the horizontal plane. Like, even if you're moving up, you stop and turn and punch left or right. Oh, and you can't punch somebody up or down, which is like in modern brawlers, like you should be able to do that. You know,
that's kind of a staple of the brawler genre. Yeah. I mean, even something as contemporary brawler wise as contemporary might not even be the right word for it anymore, but like Castle Crashers or Wolverblade. You know, it's just
Wolverblade was there.
Yeah. You know, it's about that kind of angled plane that you're, you know, up and getting yourself lined up onto the right spot on that plane.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was cool. Like there was 4 of us playing it, and it was a good time. Like it was just dumb fun. We were all laughing. Like I'm never gonna buy this game, but 4 of us playing was a good time.
I mean, if it comes up for like $6 or $7, I'll pick it up. I mean, I love beat 'em ups, so.
Yeah. I tried to play Pit People, speaking of
yes,
Castle Crashers. It was weird, man. I tried to get into the game, and like all these units were like, I had a really hard time getting on a unit that would just stay up. Like I only played Pit People for like 5 minutes, and like the HDMI port that they were using went bad. And so that station just like, they shut down that station for a while. And then I never went back to play it. But, I mean, it's a behemoth game. You can definitely tell by the art style and, you know.
Isn't it that the strategy kind of game? Like a board strategy kind of game?
Yeah, it kind of like they're like hexagons, and you kind of move them around hexagons. It kind of has like a Settlers of Catan board game kind of feel.
It looks boring to me. I'm like, nah, this is a strategy game I can't get into.
Yeah, because I was curious to see what you thought, because for me, this kind of feels like where Behemoth is losing me. Like I was totally on for Hominid and Crashers and Battle Block, but looking at Pit People, I'm looking at it going, where's the hook?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for Castle Crashers again, this is not going to be the game for you. It's definitely something really different for them.
I mean, granted, I applaud them for having the versatility to do it. Yeah. But if you're gonna be that kind of versatile, you have to be able to nail whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just gonna be like fucking Jordan playing baseball. Sports metaphor.
Yeah, sports.
Sports.
The one indie, well, there's a lot of indie games I was impressed with, but the one that like I was kind of unsure of going into, and I was very happy that I got to play it because I think this is going to be one of like the next big thing in indie games. Mm-hmm. Decay of Logos.
That looked awesome.
The action RPG that's very Breath of the Wild, and by Breath of the Wild, it is. It's not exactly like Breath of the Wild, but it's a little bit deeper than Zelda was, where like it's an actual action RPG, actually upgrades your character as you progress through the game. The world
was it top down?
No, it's 3D? It's straight up like it was originally announced for PS4 like a year ago, I want to say, and everybody's like, if you don't own a Switch and want to play Breath of the Wild, keep your eye on Decay of Logos, dude. It has their version of shrines. It has their version of dungeons. It has their version of like mini bosses. It's all there. I haven't
seen this game. I haven't heard it at all.
You need to look it up, man. It's awesome. Do. It's cool.
When did they announce
And it has this really last year. But they announced it for Switch February, I want to say. They said they were going to port it to Switch. So, but it wouldn't surprise me if this game came out and it was physical and it was $40. Like, it's that big and it's that deep. The environments are incredible looking. Like, what can I kind of compare it to? It kind of looks like, it kind of has like if you took Wind Waker's art palette and made it darker and more kind of like turn the saturation all the way up. Like it kind of looks like that. A lot of browns, a lot of blues, a lot of greens. The water looks stunning. You know how we were talking about Wind Waker's water on Pod and Play the other day when we were playing it? Like, imagine that, but like it has like rolling waves and like you see logs bobbing in the water and all that kind of stuff. It was beautiful, and like I played it for probably 15 minutes. It was great.
I have to check it out.
The bow staff I was using, top notch. It was awesome. I'll probably stick with that weapon if I can.
I'll check it out. I just haven't heard. For some reason, I just haven't heard of it.
I can't believe you haven't heard of it. It was cool. Shovel Knight, King of Cards.
Yes, talk to me.
I played it for about 10 minutes. I played the campaign. So the story is actually really funny. I was in line, and like they had in one of the units they had to like put on hold because the unit was a dev unit and not a not like a demo unit. Uh-huh. And like we were trying to like pick levels and stuff, and they were like they had to like stop us from doing that. So I played the Trouble level where like you know where you find the big fish in Shovel Knight. Yeah. Like that's a whole level now.
Oh, like, yes.
You're playing through it, and like, okay, so I want to talk about the mechanics first. King Knight has this really cool dash mechanic that like you can use it to get farther, or you can use it to dash into a wall and get a second jump out of it. That mechanic's really cool, and then you can also use it to bump enemies off platforms and stuff, which was really awesome. And then there was like when I was playing through this Trouble level, there was like these salamander things that were crawling through the level that you had to use as moving platforms, and like this is really, I mean, we've seen it in Super Mario Brothers and everything, where like one platform goes this way and you have to jump up here while this one circles around and you got to jump up, and you know they're circling around each other, and it was a really cool kind of experience though. I cannot wait for King Knight, man. I can't wait. Like if they don't announce a physical copy, I'm going to be really upset. That has all 4 campaigns on it because
they said it's coming. When we had them on, they said it's coming.
Yeah, they pretty much told me that while I was there too. But then the second thing I want to talk about is like there's a competitive card game.
Yeah.
In this game.
Yeah, I was really curious about this.
Yeah, there's a little bit of it. I tried to get some of it filmed on the YouTube page, but like I only got about 30 seconds of it, and then the person in front of me's demo ended. So like I didn't get very much of it, but like it's basically kind of like Gwent in like a simplified version of Gwent from The Witcher, where you challenge people in the taverns through like there's 3 full scale maps now instead of just 1 like in Shovel Knight. Oh. But I mean we'll talk about that in a minute, but like you basically go to these different like the different towns and the different taverns in the towns to challenge people to this card game. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like a match 3 card game mixed with like kind of like Go Fish and Texas Hold'em, where like you kind of have to like match your cards, but you have to match your cards, but the cards that you match have to have a higher point percentage than the cards across from you, or you lose. And then you can like exchange the cards that you have out for new ones. And I assume you kind of like build a deck while you're going through this game. Mm-hmm. It was kind of interesting to see them put a card game in here. But I guess if you're going to call it King of Cards,
just makes sense.
It makes sense to put a card game in your game. But I was talking to, I don't think he was a dev. I think it was definitely a representative there. But like, I was talking to him. So King Knight, you have a hub world, which is the castle, right? And you're trying to take over the castle. But in order to take over the castle, you have to travel to 3 kingdoms and take over those kingdoms, which is, you play through the map. And, like, it's 3 times the size as the original Shovel Knight, which is why it's taking so long. There's the hub world, which you can kind of, like, gear up and buy equipment and stuff, which the castle. And then there's 3 world maps, 3 kingdoms, and then there's like 3 or 4 towns within each kingdom that you can challenge people to this card game. And depending on your reputation with this card game, I don't really remember how he said it, but like your reputation with the card game and your completion through the worlds is kind of how you build reputation and how you can tell if you've taken over this kingdom or not.
Okay.
And he said you don't really have to do the card game to enjoy the platforming stuff. Like, it's not like that built into it, but for the hardcore people that want to get all the achievements and the accomplishments on the Nintendo version,
they have to play the game.
Yeah. So, and the card game can be as easy or as complicated as you want it to be. There will be competitive, like couch competitive mode in this card game, and you kind of have random decks that you kind of pull from. And there is amiibo support, obviously, in the Switch and 3DS and Wii U versions, but they wouldn't tell me what any of the amiibo did. So,
right.
But that said, dude, if it's 3 times the size as the original Shovel Knight, I'm sold, man. I'm sold.
Dude, I'm already sold. I've got like 3 copies of it coming because I've got it on my 3DS, my Wii U, and my Switch.
Yeah, right.
So,
but yeah, man, I'm excited for Shovel Knight, and then I bought my Spectre Knight T-shirt, which was awesome. Oh, the other thing is, I saw the amiibo up close, like they had him there, and I'm not supposed to say this, but I got to hold the Spectre Knight amiibo.
Oh,
dude, they're so detailed. They're so incredibly detailed that it makes the Shovel Knight amiibo that came out first, like, I almost want them to reissue it because these ones look so good and so detailed. Like, they're big. They're big, man.
Really?
They're like, I mean, the base is the same size as the Shovel Knight one, but like
the character models are bigger.
Like Plague Knight's probably the smallest, and then Shovel Knight, but Spectre Knight and King Knight are humongous, man, compared to these other ones. They're probably like, I'm trying to think. They're like if you have the Daruk amiibo from the Breath of the Wild series.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're probably that big, at least.
I was going to say big.
And they're super detailed, man. Like King Knight, you can see all like the designs in his helmet. You can see the fur on his like
So I could imagine Spectre Knight being really, really detailed.
Yeah, in his cape, you can see like all the creases and the folds in his cape. You can see the helmet detail and the armor detail is super clean. They are impressive amiibo. They're probably some of the best looking ones that are out right now, hands down.
Oh, it gets me so hype.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time at the Yacht Club booth, man. It was a good time.
Those guys are fucking awesome.
Yeah, I did play the Switch version of the game, and I did play what I assume is the Xbox One version, but everything I played on Xbox, I was told I was actually playing on either a dev unit, a gaming PC. So I don't know. I played it with an Xbox controller. Not that Shovel Knight's super like hardware taxing, but
yeah,
right.
Just wanted to throw that out there just in case. So let's see what else. Guacamelee 2. It feels just like Guacamelee, but there's multiplayer. Like there's 4-player multiplayer. And let me tell you what, in the video that I have on the YouTube page, like we were playing and then all of a sudden like the game pauses. Big like super huge crazy letters pop out. It just says Luce, and it just screams, and everybody turns into a giant chicken, and we fought the boss as 4 giant chickens.
Yeah. Is that the part where you was already small chickens and y'all was going to that area and then y'all turned? Yeah, I was cracking up. I was just like, oh, they went in for this.
Yeah,
I need to go back and give the first one a fair shake. I really didn't.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised the way you like love Metroid and Dead Cells and stuff that like you just didn't get.
Like I got it from one of the very rare humble bundles that they did some console stuff with the Wii U, and that's where I got it. And I dinked around with it, and something about it didn't grab me immediately, and it got put down for something else, and I just never went back to it.
I love that game.
So,
I bought it, when it came out on PlayStation 4. I mean, PlayStation 3. I was just like, this is good.
Again, PlayStation first is all they would tell me. They said, just stay tuned for more. It's going to come to everything else eventually, I assume. So they didn't say Vita, though. They didn't tell me Vita. They just said PlayStation 4 first. So
I think we'll probably get it next year for everything else. I think it's probably like a 6-month exclusive.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if like whenever the Super Ultra remix version, whatever, comes out, Championship Edition comes out. Garage was the top-down kind of zombie apocalypse.
It looked so uninteresting.
No, dude. Like, I thought that too, and I sat down and played it, and I sat at their booth for 20 minutes playing it. Like, it's not like a typical twin-stick shooter. It feels like Zombies Ate My Neighbors, is what it feels like.
I still get loaded from it. Every time I look at it, I think I'm loaded from PlayStation.
Oh my gosh. It was, like, I went in totally uninterested in that game, but I'm like, look, it's coming to Switch. I need to play it just for the simple fact so we can talk about it at some point. And I came away kind of impressed by that game. Like, the demo started off, you walk into this garage and there's literally just a shotgun laying in front of you and a box of shotgun shells. And you walk to the right, there's a zombie eating somebody. So you shoot your first intention is to like shoot the zombie, right? I mean, there's a zombie coming at you, you want to shoot him. Next thing you know, this huge horde of zombies just comes running at you. And like there's 3, like every time you kill a zombie, they drop shotgun shells. Or not everyone, but every couple probably drops ammo, like any typical game would. And like, you just find yourself being overwhelmed by these zombies. Well, in certain spots, you can trap zombies in certain places, so you can kind of like take them on one at a time instead of, taking on 10, 12, 15 of them at a time, which is
bottleneck them.
Yeah. And like, there's a lot of strategy in that game that I did not expect. And like the world, as the world opens up, it kind of like the level design kind of reminds me of Zombies Ate My Neighbors, to the point where like there's like a entrance that looks like the football field from Zombies Ate My Neighbors. So I don't know if that's what it was, but it really gave me that vibe. So Garage is cool. Like, I don't know if it's a day one purchase, but it's definitely something that if it's on sale for $5 at some point, like you could check it out and have a lot of fun with it. And they're playing. I asked them if there's going to be multiplayer because I think that game would be really fun multiplayer, and they said they're tooling around with the idea of adding it.
Okay.
So, which I think is where that game would shine if you could play through that game multiplayer, like local co-op or whatever. Like, especially on Switch, I think that'd be cool. So, and then let's see, Flint Hook I played on Switch. I hadn't played it yet.
Flint Hook.
I hadn't played it yet. It feels really good. The movement feels good. The big sprites kind of, again, like if there's big sprites on the screen, I can't.
That one didn't feel as bad to me as like Zeo Drifter.
Yeah, I haven't checked out Zeo Drifter, so I couldn't tell you. But like for me, like the big sprites thing, like it just feels like they take up too much of the screen. But like it was fun. Like I think the hook mechanic feels really good, and the ability to slow down time to like get through certain areas or slow down enemies to get behind them felt really good. But I only played it for about 10 minutes. The only reason why I walked up to it is because like the dev was there and nobody was standing in line for that game. But they also brought Mercenary Kings for Switch and everybody was playing Mercenary Kings. I'm like, but Flint Hook is their new game.
I mean, because it's been out on everything else. Probably people already played it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, but still, it was just like it was one of those things where like I kind of felt bad that like. But like on Thursday, it wasn't very crowded, and like a lot of the indie mega booth wasn't getting a lot of attention because everybody wanted to stand in line for the big stuff on the first day. Yeah. So like I was walking around the indie mega booth, and I felt bad for a lot of because like I didn't know how Friday or Saturday were going to be. So, but Friday everybody was lined up to play everything. So I was like, well, good thing I got through a lot of these indie games.
Right.
So let's see. Talked about that. Oh. The last game I have two more games, but we'll start with Shaq Fu.
Talk to me.
Shaq Fu is...
Eddie's got this look of disgust on his face for anybody that's listening to the audio version.
Shaq Fu is... look, Shaq Fu's not very good, alright? Like, I know, like, we kind of... It's like an inside joke that we're excited for Shaq Fu, but... Look, Shaq Fu is not very good, and it has the same problem that I had with Raging Justice, where like there's so many times where I was walking up or diagonal, and I could have totally fought these things diagonally or vertically, and like your moveset goes to the left or right every time, and I'm like, no, just change it. I don't care if it's a side-scrolling beat 'em up, just change it. It would make this game infinitely better. Okay, maybe not infinitely better, but it would make the game better. I was playing on PS4 Pro, and it was still kind of framey. I played it for like 20 minutes, and like I kept looking around to see if anybody else would play it, and I was like, there was 5 stations set up, and there was only 2 people playing it. I was like, well, this kind of says a lot about this game. Dude, the enemy design in the demo area at least was not very plentiful. There was like these very kind of racist caricatures of these little Asian men with like the triangle, like round triangle pointy hats.
Yeah.
Like the long robes going like this with their hands inside the sleeves coming at you doing like one of these things. And like you were fighting these little like these caricature Asian people. I was like, oh, this isn't racist at all. But I guess if you're playing someone that's not white, this isn't racist. And then like there's these blue like half demon, half goat women that would like throw magic at you, and you would have to like fight them. And those were the only 2 enemies I fought in the first 10 minutes of the demo.
That's a shame.
And then I got to this part where it's very clearly supposed to be a mini boss. And it was like this big fat like sumo wrestler guy with a shield. That's literally what he looked like. And like this weird like head. I want to call it a hat, but I don't think it was a hat. I really don't know what it was. It was very unclear about what was on this man's head. But he had this shield, and you had to like get behind him to do like some combo moves, and then like they started teaching you how to do combos and these like a rush attack and stuff. I was like, could have very well used this at the beginning of the game when I was being overwhelmed by stereotypical Asian monk guys that were swarming me.
Ching chow.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's kind of what it was, and I'm not trying to be racist or anything, but that's what the enemies were. And so, like, after I beat this mini boss, I get to the next...
That's going to be the episode title now, is Stereotypical Racist.
Yeah. I get to the next area of the game.
It was going to be swinging boobs.
And I was like, okay, that mini boss was like kind of tough, right? Because like I didn't really know what I was doing. It's very clearly a arena set up to fight a mini boss. I get to the next stretch of like horizontal row.
Yeah.
3 of that mini boss pop out in a smaller sized area with like the little Asian guys on a rooftop shooting arrows at me now.
So they basically just golden axed you.
Yeah, pretty much. And then, like, as soon as I beat one of the guys, something came swooping out of the air and dropped a box, which was the power-up. And I got this, like, big mechanical suit that, like, shot lasers at these, like, poor sumo wrestlers with wooden shields and some Mulan characters. And, like, with lasers. And I'm just like, this game is really ridiculous. I can't, like... I don't know really what else to say about this game.
Corey can officially no longer defend it, even in comic variety.
No, I'm still going to defend it, and it's going to be funny. But everybody should know that I'm defending it ironically and not as a polished, well-made video game. I'm still going to defend Shaq Fu because Shaq Fu. But that's the extent of why I'm defending it.
Oh God!
But the last game I played, which I actually got to sit in the press area for that, was Lightfall, and I am thoroughly impressed with this game. And like the developer was like really nervous and like kind of, you could tell English wasn't really his first language, though he spoke English pretty well. But like he was nervous and like. I was asking him about the game and stuff, and like I'm gonna say something, and I know I don't want you guys to take this the wrong way, even though it's gonna sound like it, but you're gonna have to take a ride with me, okay? It's gonna be a ride.
Is this ride gonna be stereotypically racist?
No, it might be, but this is what I think Sega needs to look at to make a good Sonic game.
Okay.
Speedrunning is super fast. It's a very vertically designed game to where you can still go fast or vertically. You know, the big hook of the game is making blocks, which, you know, Sega doesn't really need to do that for Sonic, but like if they want Sonic to be relevant in like a modern style arena, this is the game they need to look at. And this game had me floored. Like, the story of the game was super cool. You go into these areas and they start telling you different stories about the lore of the game, which I was like, I had no idea this game was this deep. Like, the lore of this game. Like, there's lore behind every single block that you can use. Like, there's the normal platforming blocks that you can build, like, that you can just throw out and build, right? And to add platforming. But then you unlock power blocks, which you find a boat. You need to learn how to power the boat. Well, you use the power block to start the rotor on the boat to get across the river. There's a lore block, which like you use to unlock the lore stones that you can learn about the story of the game. And then, you know, they want you to go fast. Like, this game is definitely built for people who want to start speedrunning platformers. But they want you to keep moving through the game. And that's where I bring the Sonic reference in, is like, Sonic always wants you to keep moving, but there's always dumb obstacles in your way. Where, like, you keep moving through this game, and they just want you to explore different routes, but you can still get there fast. Now, there's enemies and obstacles and stuff, but they're all on, like there's a swinging thing, and you need to learn how to dodge the swinging thing with the death spikes on it. Or, like, you know, there's fish in the water that, like, they like to jump like the fish in Mario, and you need to learn
cheeps.
Yeah, you need to learn their patterns so you can like jump over them and throw blocks in their way so you can jump over them. And I'm like, I was blown away. Like I wanted to get this game anyway because it reminded me of what I wanted Celeste to be for me. But this game, I was totally like floored, and I got to play 3 different levels. So nice. It was cool, and like. I gave him one of my business cards, and I have their contact information somewhere on my desk. Nice. So maybe we'll get them on here at some point. But yeah, PAX was busy for me.
Now, there's one that we didn't actually get to get into the meat of. We've kind of touched on it on a couple of occasions. I want to hear your thoughts. Talk to me. Dead Cells.
Oh, Dead Cells, right. We didn't get into Dead Cells.
We just kind of grazed it with a few other things and then said we'll get back to it.
Yeah, so I was going in fully expecting not to like Dead Cells because I don't like roguelikes, I don't like roguelites, I don't like procedurally generated stuff. And I'm just like, I know people within NGR and World War I are like interested in this game, so I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna see what it's all about. I went from not being interested in this game at all to as soon as this game comes out, I'm buying it. I don't care if I have to like sell my wife to like sex traffickers. I want to buy this game. Like
it's like fucking heroin, isn't it?
Well, like the dev is standing right there. He's standing there like walking me through the game. Like, okay, so you can like press down and B, and you can do like this dash down through the level, and then you can go over here, and this is your merchant. Now you're too poor, and like I was trying to crack jokes with him, and like I don't think he understood my jokes. He's like, "You're too poor to buy this item," and I'm like, "Yeah, sounds like real life." And he just kind of looked at me like, That's a dumb American joke. You're a dumb American. But I'm like, I don't care. I'm playing this game. It's fun. And like we would go through, and he was telling me like all the enemy types and like what each one does before I actually fight them. And he was like, you can take this bow and arrow, or you can take the shield. Now, speedrunners will want to take the bow because they'll be able to take the enemies out faster. But I highly recommend the shield if you don't want to die. And I'm like, well, I'm going to take the bow because you told me to take the shield. And he just was kind of surprised that I took the bow instead of the shield. And then I ended up dying. And he's like, and I was like, I'm going to take the shield this time. He's like, good idea. Like, kind of making fun of me. I'm just like, oh, thanks, guy. So yeah, Dead Cells is cool. I like the art is some of the best pixel art. Like, I like the flashy, like kind of dark blues and light blues mixed in with like the bright pinks, and then you get down into this one area where there's a bunch of like neon greens and yellows and stuff, and you know, you get to like even the art style of like the merchants are cool, the teleporters are cool. You know, I got to this area that was kind of outside-ish, and like even the background designs are like, whoa, I can't believe, like, I thought this game was kind of like SteamWorld Dig, where most of it took place underground or like down in like a dungeon or whatever, and like you get outside and it's like these
spectacular
pinks mixed with some whites and some like neon pinks and some blues, and I'm just like, this game is kind of breathtaking, and I can't wait to take snapshots on Switch just so I can use them as laptop background, wallpapers and stuff.
So
the movement felt good. Like, I was afraid it was going to be kind of slow. It felt really good, like, to move. The jumping felt really good. The double jump and the wall jumps felt really good. The attack, like, the attack animations felt right on point. You know, blocking stuff and pairing stuff with your shield felt really good once I got that mechanic down. I was thoroughly impressed with Dead Cells, and I cannot wait to play more Dead Cells. And I'm like, I told the guy, I was straight up with the guy. I was like, look, I came over here because a bunch of my friends want to know how the Switch version plays. I'm not going to lie, I don't really care about roguelites or these types of games at all. And he's like, well, I hope you give it a chance. I told him at the end of the demo, I'm like, I'm sold on this game. Like, this is a day one purchase on Switch for me. Like, I'm sold. He's like, good. I'm glad you liked it. I'm like, I run this podcast. I would love for you to come on one of our shows to talk about this game with us, because like, just playing this 10 to 15 minute demo just sold me on this game. He's like, yeah. After like convention season is over, we would love to come talk about the game. He said it's out this fall.
Okay, so that's more than we had.
It wasn't a date, but he's like, yeah, it's coming out real soon this fall. I'm like,
Well, is it coming out soon or is it coming out in the fall?
Well, considering they've been plowing at this thing since like 8 months ago, though.
Yeah, I know, and I was like, I'm waiting for the Switch version. You know, I don't really play a lot of PC games like at all, but you know, when this game comes out on Switch, I will be playing it like day one, and I'm really happy I came over to play this.
Which is, I wonder why Microsoft and Sony haven't went to them to get this game, but Nintendo snatched them.
Nintendo must have paid a pretty penny to get this as a timed exclusive.
I would say I didn't hear it was a timed exclusive. My understanding was it was supposed to hit all 3 platforms and PC at the same time when they had the 1.0 out.
He said it's coming to Switch first, but it will be on all the other platforms eventually.
Interesting. Wow. So that's a new little nugget as far as I'm aware.
Yeah. So like, I mean, it was interesting. They're focusing on the Switch version because it's the same story that we hear from every other indie developer, where it's going to sell more on. They expect it to sell more on Switch than the other platforms.
Their sales will. People who play on PC, they about to double dip on Switch because they about to. I think they're gonna have more precise control on the Switch version, and probably with the Pro controller. Yeah, people gonna double dip on this.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
dude. Trust me, it's what I've been playing it on right there. Old school Wii U Pro controller. It feels perfect. That being said, I am perfectly ready to sink into that with the Joy-Con.
Yeah.
So, because I mean, even on the Pro controller, there I've been playing with the D-pad, the cross pad. So, but in any case, yeah, I'm so glad you now understand my obsession here.
Yeah, like
they perfected the formula to one more run.
Yeah, like I like Metroid style games. I love Metroid, right? And like, but I don't like roguelikes where like you go through and you do as much as you can, and then when you die you lose it all and have to start over. Like, I don't like that concept. But Dead Cells has that limited progression where like you go through, you feel like even when you die and you lose stuff, you feel like you've progressed a little bit, and you can just continue and you know, continue with some progress and make progress as you're playing through the game. Oh, yeah. And that mixed with some really awesome art and level design, I'm sold, man. Like I was sold after I played it, and I wasn't even planning on, honestly, like I'm going to tell you the truth. I wasn't planning on buying it, and now I'm like, I can't wait for it. So,
I mean,
amen.
I was already going to plan on buying it, and I haven't played it on PC or anything, but I just seen the artwork, and I just see that game in motion. I'm just like, oh, this game looks amazing. And then just when I was talking to one of the guys from A4 Play, and he was talking about Dead Cells, I'm like, oh, this will work wonders on Switch. The moment everybody was talking about Dead Cells being on Switch, that following day it got announced for Switch.
Dude, I'm telling you, the minute I can take this thing anywhere with me, my fucking life is over.
So, I think $20 for this game was suited fine. I think $20 would do it.
Well, it's $20 in early access right now. Access. So I'm guessing between 25 and 30 full version when it hits.
Well, yeah, I'm kind of expecting like a $30 price point. He said they hadn't decided on a price point yet for its.
I will pay $40 for a hard copy.
Well,
no, I
don't think they're gonna do hard just yet. If they do hard, I think they'll do it. They'll wait till the Xbox One and PS4 version comes.
I think a game as high profile as Dead Cells, I think they'll do it physical eventually.
It depends on sales of everybody.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll double dip on that one.
There are now 2 games I want a physical copy of, and that's Shovel Knight and Dead Cells.
Amen.
And Lightfall. If Lightfall, like if that gets a physical, like I kind of feel bad for some of these developers, because like some of them, like sometimes I feel like they don't know how to answer the question, because either A, they're under NDA, or B, they're just kind of nervous enough to like get their game out there, let alone answer questions about it.
PR people.
Yeah. But like, man, Lightfall and Dead Cells are like two of the games that I'm like, those were two of my favorite games at PAX, and I played like 40 games, so.
I think with the physical copy stuff, people really gotta get this word of mouth out. Like a demo for both of them on Switch would sell it, and they're gonna have to like really sell a lot of copies, because if they're gonna do those physical copies, that's gonna be on those developers to get it done. It won't be unless they do a contract with a publisher who's gonna publish their game for physical.
Yeah. Just a small note too, a little self-promotion for the NGR channel. For anybody that hasn't gotten to look at much of it yet, as much as we've talked about it, go check out the NGR channel. We've got about an hour of footage of Dead Cells up. It's up there on the World 1-1 Plays playlist there. So that's something to go peep. And so if you want a little bit deeper look at some Dead Cells, that's a great way to kind of check some of that out. No, I'm sorry, it's about a half hour of Dead Cells. I apologize, but
yeah, some of the people were commenting on the because I put up the off-screen footage of the Switch version on the YouTube page, and like people were like, "Oh man, this game looks awesome! I can't believe nobody's covering this game." I'm like, "Well, if you check the World 1-1 Plays playlist, like there's a half hour of it there, and I'm sure Larry has a ton to say about it while he's playing it." So, and they're like, "Oh, cool, thanks." So, yeah.
So, but anyways, we are running way long in the tooth. Holy shit!
No, we're not. We're fine,
dude. We hit about the 2-hour mark here.
I know, but
so
we had a lot to cover. It was PAX.
There was so. I will say that next week we will pick up with Games of the Week and all the other nonsense that we normally do again. But
sorry, I had a lot to say. I didn't go over that much.
No, definitely, and I'm glad that you did. I'll happily put off our usual bullshit for something as meaty as PAX, especially since we had boots on the ground there with you being out there. But in any case, little bit of housekeeping, I suppose. Minus World should be back this week. We're tackling the back half of Portal 1, so Test Chamber 19 to the end of the game. Go check that out, and the previous episode of Minus World, so you can get yourself caught up. If you haven't already, you've got time to do that. Other than that, tons of awesome stuff on the NGR channel. Corey obviously put up a metric fuck ton of footage from PAX. Eddie is always on the move with everything from optional opinion to, oh God, throw me some others. You do everything, Eddie.
Writing, for the moment, co-hosting on other podcasts and hosting Arsenal X, and pretty much getting ready to get back to my Let's Learn series. And working on some other things in the back for NGR.
Nice. Make sure you check out the NGR radio channel on YouTube for all the good stuff. Also, just finished up for probably maybe the two people that are interested, but the end of the World 1-1 Plays Pegasus Prime is going up on YouTube here in probably the next couple of hours, actually. So it should be up by the time this goes up. So there's now a full complete game up there, and hopefully later this week should be starting something else. I'm considering just going straight into Buried in Time to follow that up. Run the whole series. Other than that, find us at our home, shoutengine.com, iTunes, Google Play Music, and YouTube for not only us, but also all the other NGR Radio and Arsenal X and Pal Block and Nerds Gone Platinum and all the other fucking awesome stuff that we do. So go check all that out. Make sure you You click your subscribe and ring the bell if we did well, and that way you get your notifications of all the cool shit that we've got going up on the channel all the flipping time. So, did we miss anything?
Yeah. If you guys were also at PAX, we would like to hear your stories and what
you
guys
talk
played.
To us.
You guys can email us at world101podcast@gmail.com, WORLD11podcast@gmail.com.
Or drop comments on the video here on the YouTube channel. We do check those. We do look at those.
Yes.
So, and we do like to respond when they're there. So, in any case, Corey, anything before we dip out of here?
I'm working on a 100th episode trailer for NGR Radio, so that'll be up at some point, probably in the next probably like month and a half ish, just to promote the 100th episode of NGR and everything through the last 2 years, and all the partnerships we've made and the show expansions and the special Let's Play stuff that we were doing. So I know we kind of did that. I did that kind of rough trailer beforehand, but we're gonna have a new trailer for the 100th episode, and I'm really excited because the 100th episode recording is the I think it's either the week of E3 or the week after.
Oh.
So. Well, you realize next week the three of us we're churning out the 100th episode of World 1-1 as well.
Yeah. So and the 100th
this week
episode
is 99.
And the 100th episode of PAL Block is in 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're hitting milestones everywhere.
Mm-hmm. So,
good job, team.
Go Team Venture.
But yeah, that's kind of it. I'm tired.
You and me both. I gotta be up in 7 hours. Man. So, all right. Well, gentlemen, thank you for joining me. Everyone listening, thank you for coming in and tuning in and checking out our special brand of bullshit. We'll be back next week with World 1-1 podcast and all throughout the week with everything else on NGR. So for the three of us, we're out. Good night. Peace.
See you guys next time on World 1 podcast.
Bye, guys.